Hello once again. This is Louis Brightraven, Quoth the Raven. Louis Brightraven, 28-year veteran of comics, science fiction, fantasy, and horror as a writer, illustrator, and editor. And today is Monday, so we're doing comics reviews. And I also got some interesting swag in the mail, so we'll see, look at that as well. So before we go any further, we got to do our regular notice. In accordance with the new copy regulations, this episode of Quoth the Raven is intended for ages 16 and up. While some of the content we will feature is sometimes kid-friendly, the context of the episode is to address adults and inform them of said content for them to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well, rated TV 16 and up. I hope you guys are having a good start to your week. We're going to go with questions first. We only have one question this week. As soon as the computer pulls it up. There we go. And that question is, did you watch Superman and Lois, and what are your thoughts from multiple parties? I did watch Superman and Lois on the CW live stream channel on the internet, and it was okay. Pretty much written by the numbers, fairly predictable as to what was going on. But, you know, it is the first episode, pilot. They're trying to do all the setup for everything, so that's reasonable. The cast was fine. There were, you know, I've seen a lot of people praising it and saying, oh, how it's so unique and new, and there's twists that we weren't expecting, and I'm kind of like scratching my head because everything was very obvious as what they were going to do, but, you know, at least in that episode. Now, what it might do throughout the season, who knows, but like I said, it's all just set up for what's going on, so I wasn't displeased with it or anything, but I wasn't exactly, you know, over the moon over it either. And that is our questions for this week. So if you have questions, you can email me at the address you see on the screen below, quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and get to our reviews. We're going to be reviewing lots of things today, comics and videos. Our first is Batman Soul of the Demon DVD. This is also available in Blu-ray. Directed by Sam Liu, produced by Jim Craig, Sam Liu, and Kimberly S. Moreau. Written by Jeremy Adams, starring David Giantoli. I hope I didn't slaughter that name. Mark Dacascos, Kelly Hu, Michael J. White, James Hong, Josh Keaton, and Jamie Chung. Production companies were Warner Brothers Animation and DC Entertainment, distributed by Warner Brothers Home Entertainment, and it was released on January 12th, 2021, but I happened to get my copy last week. And what it's about is this takes place in the 1970s, and in his younger years, while training himself to become a vigilante crime fighter, Bruce Wayne travels to Nanda Parbat, a secret monastery in the Hindu Kush Himalayan region, where he meets its caretaker, O-Sensei, and 5 other students training in the martial arts: Shiva, Richard Dragon, Jade, Ben Turner, and Rip Jagger. O-Sensei eventually entrusts Shiva with Soulbreaker, a Muramasa sword, that's a type of samurai sword, in his possession, but otherwise remains secretive about a certain door at the monastery's outer perimeter. One night, Rip Jagger penetrates the forbidden door and kills Jade with the Soulbreaker sword, which is the key to a mystical gate O-Sensei was guarding. This gate opens up to the home dimension of the serpent god Naga. 4 of the servants emerge and devour Rip before turning on O-Sensei and his students. Bruce and the others kill the demons, but to close the gate, O-Sensei must sacrifice himself by entering Naga's realm. The chamber then collapses, leaving only the gate intact. And you know, I don't know what's taking my computer so long to load some of these images today. This doesn't want to load. There we go. Several years later, Richard Dragon discovers that the millionaire Jeffrey Bird, leader of a dangerous snake cult named Cobra, has gained possession of the gate. Richard travels to Gotham to ask Bruce for help, but they are attacked by a gang hired by Bird's chief killer, Schlagenfaust. That's a hell of a name, isn't it? Schlagenfaust. Anyway, during this fight, Richard learns that Bruce is Batman and that Schlagenfaust is looking for Soulbreaker, which is in the possession of Shiva. So they head to Gotham, Chinatown, to inform her, and she happens to be the resident crime lord in Gotham. But when they get there, the cultists attack, and Schlagenfaust uses the distraction to steal the sword. Needing further assistance, the trio recruit Ben, and together they track the cult to a heavily fortified island where the cult has taken the gate and are preparing to open it by sacrificing several kidnapped children to the Soulbreaker sword. They also learn from Ben, who had already been investigating the Cobra cult, that he had tracked them, and after discovering that Rip is one of their members, and that he had learned due to an obscure prophecy that Burr means to open the Nagas. He means to become Naga's earthly avatar. Arriving by plane, Bruce, as Batman, Richard, Shiva, and Ben parachute down and penetrate Cobra's defenses through a set of catacombs where they encounter Schlagenfaust, and they have to fight. And Shiva and Richard Dragon go separate while Bruce and Ben, or Batman and Ben, however you want to do it, face off against Schlagenfaust. And while we're waiting for this computer to do what it's supposed to be doing, I'm not sure why it's having such a hard time today, but it is. It could be something with my graphics. It was running something in the background. It finally stopped running. Maybe that'll fix it. But anyway, it's revealed that Schlagenfaust is a demonic servant. While Batman and Ben battle Schlagenfaust, Richard and Shiva prevent the sacrifice of the children and engage the other cult warriors. Vanquishing their opponents, they corner Burr at the gate, but Burr turns Soulbreaker against himself, opening the doorway. The Naga emerges, having possessed O-Sensei's body, and he swiftly overwhelms pretty much all of them. Naga reveals that Richard is his actual destined host and tries to seduce him with promises of power, but Richard refuses, and with some help from Batman, uses Soulbreaker to banish him. Freed from the Naga's domination, O-Sensei bids his student farewell before dying in her arms. In order to close the gate, however, Batman enters the Naga's dimension wielding Soulbreaker, and the other three willingly follow him. Once the gate is closed, the four prepare against Naga and his demon horde on the other side of the gate, trapped in that other dimension. And that's how they end the film. And that is the one thing I don't like about it, is how they ended the film. Everything in the film is very well done, very well cast. Unfortunately, I just, it leaves too much out in the open as to how he gets back, or they get back. And there's some other questions. If those three know his Batman's secret identity, I mean, if Shiva's a criminal, crime lord knows who Batman is, that's not good. Of course, that's kind of the weird thing about that whole thing of who's knowing whose secret identity and whatnot. But I guess they have a mutual respect for one another from being in Paranabat, so that they don't really go after each other, I guess. But anyway, it's the one flaw I really had was the ending for it. But other than that, I don't know why StreamYard is having our Google Drive is having such a hard time loading today. But it is. But otherwise, my favorite character in the movie was Shiva. And I really did enjoy the 70s period homage storyline. It has all the like kung fu films of the 60s and 70s that had like Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris and those type of films. Enter the Dragon. So it really paid homage to that type of filmmaking and stuff for this particular animated film. It is rated R for language and violence, and I gave it I believe I gave it 4 stars. I did. Okay. Let's see what's going on with them. If we can get these other graphics to come up. There we go. Hopefully this will be okay. Our first book of the day is BIONIC, trade paperback from 1999 from Top Shelf IDW Publishing. The creator is Koren Shadmi. The genre is science fiction / romance. It was originally released in June of 2020. I think it actually came out in 20. There's a version that came out in 2018, but this version came out in June of 2020. And I just recently got around to reading it. The ISBN number is 978-1-60309-478-8. And what it's about, teenager Victor, that's the guy inside her head there, is hopelessly infatuated with his classmate Patricia, whose family is rich and employs his own father. Her father is a cybernetics expert, and they make cybernetic parts for different people and things like that. Anyway, after a horrific car accident, with a car hit her as a pedestrian, Patricia returns to school with over half of her body replaced with bionic and cybernetic parts. This is a tour de force work. These are complex characters. They're all fallible and completely messed up in their own unique ways, and they're all hurting one another in different manners. Patricia and Victor are very well handled, even though their relationship is entirely broken and dysfunctional, and they end up hurting one another. More Patricia hurting Vic than the other way around, but yes, both of them do hurt each other. And, Shadmi has an incredible eye for creating imagery and situational symbolism and irony, and the design of the story is impeccable. Patricia is constantly changing her personality and looks, partly as a coping mechanism, but hinting that the cybernetics aren't taking, her body's rejecting the cybernetics as well, almost as though she is rebooting herself. And I say rebooting in quotations. She's doing that periodically because she'll do something, and then the next day she'll act like she doesn't remember doing it. And, like she went set herself to default or something, and treats Victor like trash as a result. This also becomes especially important at the end of the story, because there's a cat in the story that has cybernetic parts that they both bonded over, and something happens to the cat that may affect her and her cybernetics. Anyway, she keeps looping and rebooting herself and making the same self-destructive choices. And while she can sort of blame her bionics, how much of it is the bionics and how much of it is her doing it on her own? We can't. It's purposely left open to interpretation. Victor, in his own right, is making similar choices by remaining loyal to her, even though she hurts him repeatedly by her actions, which culminates in her physically crushing his hand to dust during sex. She gripped his hand with her cybernetic hand and lost control of herself during orgasm, and just goes and just grinds it to powder. This causes Victor to need his hand to be replaced by the same technology from Patricia's father's company. This is recommended for ages 16 and up. There's nudity, there's sexual scenes, and displays of post-traumatic stress disorder type behaviors, alcohol abuse, all kinds of things in this. That it's definitely a mature reader type book, but I would say a 16-year-old can still get along with it. I give it 5 out of 5. Let's see what the artwork looks like. If we can get this silly thing to load. And like I said, it's not loading today. I don't know why. Very annoying. There we go. There's some of the artwork. This is where Victor is invited to her home for a party, and it turns out that it's not really so much a party as her father showing her off and her technology off to other investors and showing how it works and everything. And she just feels like she's being used rather than, being a human being. And they go out somewhere, and she hates the music and everything, and so she gets out some tequila, and this is really interesting because you figure at least half her body is like mechanical, and how much of it isn't mechanical, and what is her actual alcohol tolerance, we don't really know. It's kind of weird. But anyway, she's talking about didn't you see how my father was showing me off to those creepy old men? It's a big corporate showcase, not a party. He doesn't care about me. He only cares about his stupid company. And there was other stuff going on in that story as well. That's just really an excellent piece of work. I highly recommend that book. Our next book is Kaiju Score number 4. This is the last issue of the arc. It is of the storyline. $4.99 from publisher Aftershock Comics. Writer is James Patrick. Artist is Broo. The genre is crime noir monster mash. Kaijus. The conclusion of the caper of the century. Everything Marco has planned for this heist has gone sideways, done a backflip, and gone sideways again. But miraculously, he and his crew have pulled it off, stealing a vault filled with priceless artworks in the middle of a kaiju battle. There's only just a few loose ends to tie up, like getting the vault out of the city before a massive tidal wave hits, and getting rid of Pearson, their client's Heavy, who plans to kill the crew and keep the score for himself. Creative team does a good job of ending the story, but in so doing, they made the story predictable. And like any number of recent heist spy movies we've seen, it feels very Hollywood. And that's not exactly a surprise because this book has been picked up by Sony Entertainment and will be made into a movie. So that might be why it was done. It really does feel more like a screenplay than a comic, especially in this issue. Whereas in the earlier issues, it really didn't. It was. I could see it being a screenplay, but it was still comic-y. This was really the Hollywood style. And I do wish the book had done something a little more unique in the end, but it does what it's supposed to as far as the story goes. It's recommended for ages 16 and up. I give it 3 out of 5 stars. Let's look at some of the art. This is Marco fleeing on an ATV from the 2 kaiju that are fighting in the middle of Miami. This is Pearson, who's going to kill the safecracker after he's already killed another member of the crew. And he's like, don't kill her, kill me. And he's like, oh, I'm going to kill all of you anyway. What the hell? This is a joke, but I'm definitely going to kill her now because you don't want me to do it. And so one of the kaiju that was expected to lose decides to just do a total 180 on the other one. And it makes a distraction. She hits Pearson in the head with a rock or the giant piece of concrete. And Marco hits him again in the mouth, and he's dropped the gun. And then the kaiju spears him and gores him right through the chest with its tail and kills him. And that settles that. In the meantime, they still got to get out of there and get the vault with the artwork inside. So they wrap it around the tail of the kaiju and then flee before a tidal wave hits. And as you can see, the title alert's coming right on behind, right on hot on their trail. So it's a decent book. Our next book is Sympathy for No Devils, number 5 for $3.99. Publisher is Aftershock Comics. This is the last issue of the story arc, if not the whole series. Writer is Brandon Thomas. Artist is Lee Ferguson. Colors by Jose Villarrubia. Genre is science, supernatural buddy cop drama. Released February 25th, 2021, as was Kaiju Score 4. And what it's about: human ex-police detective and now private investigator Winston Wallace, that's the guy with the brown coat, lives in a world where everyone else is a monster or a demon. He's the only human, basically, or one of the very few humans in this world. And now he and his brother-in-law, demon ogre cop named Raleigh, have put an end to the murders committed by Wallace's assistant, but not at great personal cost. As Wallace explains the events that have transpired to the chief of police in an interview, which is the bracketing sequence in the issue, we see Raleigh and Wallace get past their personal issues and rekindle their friendship and brotherhood in more ways than one. Writer Brandon Thomas admits in the afterwards of the issue that the series was heavily influenced by black buddy cop movie Bad Boys. As though this was not obvious. Okay. But I suppose Thomas felt the need to explain or justify to readers why he was aping stuff or whatever. Overall, it's just an average book. It's recommended for mature readers, because there's, language and sexual and nudity and other stuff in it. Rated 3 out of 5 stars. This is the first page where he sits down to go talk to the chief of police. I just did the inside cover with it next because I didn't want to try and break it all up with different pages. He lost his hand in the last issue, and the other one basically cut his hand off and gave him his own hand as a prosthetic. Raleigh gave Wallace that. And this is really bad dialogue. Ah, man. Oh, man. Ah, man. Man. Really? Man. I just, I don't know. They could have done something with that, but it's just weird. I understand why he did it that way, but I think that he could have done something a little more, I don't know. It's just silly to me. He realizes that he has to go to the cemetery and cast a spell to raise the mayor who died, was killed, because she can still be raised within a certain amount of time, and they've got very limited time. And there's actual mummy guards at the cemetery, and they don't have their badges, so they don't. They have to fight off the mummies and stuff to get to it, instead of just showing the mummy, "Hey, I'm not a grave robber." Anyway, next issue. Our next book is TAARNA number 3, $3.99. Publisher Heavy Metal Productions. Writer Stephanie Phillips. Art by Christian Rosado, who is a new artist on the series. Colorist is Jessica Colleen. Cover by Christian Ward. The genre is science fiction fantasy. It was released February 25th, and what it's about. Urkus and his army march to the city of Iridia, which is a city atop a giant prehistoric turtle's back, as TAARNA kills one of the 3 beasts that house the energies of the chaos god KAIJU. TAARNA is to kill 2 more of these beasts, as well as stop Urkus. In killing the first beast, TAARNA befriends a young woman who is both a piece of bait to get TAARNA to fall into Urkus' trap, but also possibly something else. I don't want to spoil what she could be, either this issue or the issues coming up, so I'll refrain from speaking further on that point. I won't give you my guess of what it is going on. I don't know what happened to Patrick Zircher, who had done the first 2 issues. But while Christian Rosado tries to work along similar style, it is slightly different, and in my opinion, doesn't quite match up to Zerker's work. I've read a few other reviews of the issue, and I couldn't possibly disagree with what other people are saying. I think the pacing of the art is slow as molasses. 21 pages to tell what could and arguably should have been told in about 10, and then kept the damn story moving along. The story's pacing for this whole series so far has been very ponderous and slow and annoying to me. Best thing about the book is the cover by Christian Ward, that you see on the screen, really. Recommended for ages 16 and up, and I give it 2.5 stars because I gave the first 2 issues, I gave like a 4 and a 3, and this is not as good as those, so I have to give it a lower score. Here's some of the art by Christian Rosado and Jessica Colleen. Again, it's not necessarily bad art, but compared to Zerker, it's rough comparative. Different style. And I think part of it is I don't like it when you change artists mid-story arc like that without letting us know or whatever. And I just kind of weird that that Zerker was gone after only 2 issues. And she basically, this is where Tarna kills the beast, and then she talks to the girl that's bait for her to go follow, basically. Our next book is Usagi Yojimbo, Wanderer's Road, number 4, $3.99. Publisher is IDW Publishing. Writer artist is Stan Sakai, with colors by Rhonda Pattison and cover by Peach Momoko. Genre is anthropomorphic samurai adventure, released February 25th, 2021. Apparently, this is a reprint of the classic Usagi Yojimbo story Blade of the Gods, in which Usagi meets a possessed or crazed warrior named Jay, who claims to see evil in others and has to kill them so that he can be worthy to join his gods. He confronts Usagi as an evil being in a 2 duel, with Usagi losing and on the ropes until an odd twist of fate occurs, which I will not spoil. This is the usual quality one can expect from Sakai. Maybe a little bit darker and not all ages, but still good for 10 and up. 5 stars as always for Usagi. I mean, it's almost, at the very worst, I might give it a 4.5. It's just one of these characters, and the way Stan does the book, it's just a perfect comic, and I wish more people bought the brand. Here's some of the artwork. And he first meets Jay, and it's quite interesting. He notices that Jay's sword, or spear rather, is black. The blade is black. And, of course, it kind of tells, it gives you, basically a foreboding that Usagi realizes there's something wrong with this guy, and I need to try to keep my wits about me. And that's basically because he's, Jay is a demon, or a demon possessed warrior, and he senses that evil. And then he gets confronted with the possessed version of Jay, and they're fighting. And as you can see, he's losing. Usagi is. And like I said, I don't really want to go ahead and give you the rest of it from there. Our last review for the day is Villainous number 5 of 5, $3.99 from Mad Cave Studios, written by Stonie Williams, art by Jeff Sadzinski, with colors by Joanna LaFuente. The genre is superhero, supervillain. It was released last week, February 25th. And what it's about is, after the death of December, one of the villains at the hands of the so-called hero showdown in last issue, the rest of the villains plan an attack on a coalition of heroes' main base to get their leader, Pillar, who is seen on the cover. Remember, the heroes in this story are actually the bad guys, who have assassinated world representatives to suit their own agendas, and framed the lead character, Tilly, who was a team hero sidekick for the assassination. So now Tilly, a.k.a. Lazardia, and her associates in the villain side of the world make their play. And they get Pillar to admit to the coalition of heroes' actions during their little battle. And it's all shown on video, live to the world. So while she's taken down, the villains are still kind of left in bad light as well. Mostly just because society just looks upon them wrong. They're still wanted and hated by society, and they're wanted by the law, even though they have proven that they were real protectors of the city. And, there you go. It is a very nice little story, and I hope the series did well enough to potentially continue down the road. Recommended for ages 13 and up. I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars. Mark Anderson says, I like the art. That sword shot is cool. Okay. All right. And with the Villainous book, there is you can get it in trade paperback. It has been solicited. I think it was either solicited last month or in this month's preview. So look for that. You don't have to go looking for the back issues. You can pre-order the full trade from Mad Cave. Let's take a look at some of the art. And this is where Tilly tells them that December was killed, and Showdown did it. And they start making their plans. This is where Pillar is at the home base of the headquarters of the coalition of heroes, and she's got all the trainee heroes, sidekicks that are basically gullible to do her bidding. And one of them asks a question, guess, what's that? And that's one of the bad guys crashing in. And yeah, she's like, oh, really? You just come here all by yourself and you think you can take us all on your own? And Tilly, comes up through the elevator and says, he's not alone. And the fight begins. Again, I don't know why Google is being so fussy today. She's ordered to stop them, and Tilly and the others are basically tearing the sidekicks down. Pillar gets a gun and starts shooting up everyone, basically, because she is evil. She's not really a hero. And then, again, all this is on a video with a cop right there. You couldn't stop us from killing the ambassador, and you won't stop what's coming next. Oh, it was you then. Those files are received from an anonymous source. They were right. Well, who are you going to believe? An anonymous source or the heroes of this city? Yeah, sure. You just admitted it on video. So yeah, you're. Then Tilly destroys her gun, and they're about ready to fight. And she's like, oh, that we both know you don't have what it takes to do what needs to be done. You're a hero at heart. That's why I chose you, innocent and pure. I'm not going to tell you what Tilly's reaction to that is. It's not what you might think. And those are our reviews for today. However, I did just get home and I just got something really cool in the mail, and that is The After Realm from Mike Avon Oeming. This is a book that is a Kickstarter book. It's supposed to be the next issue of what was being produced through Image. The only thing I'm kind of annoyed by is I don't see any issue number anywhere on this book. I think it's supposed to be issue number 4, but I really don't know. But other than that, just taking a quick brief look at it, it looks nice. I will give it a review next week, along with some other things. And there was also a little magnet of one of the lead characters that came with it. So that was cool. It wasn't something I was expecting. And since I got it from someone that isn't Michael Avon Oeming, I was kind of like, I don't know. I guess he has someone else fulfilling it for him or something. I'll have to find out what's up with that a little bit later, because I'm hoping to get Mike on the show, talk a little bit more about After Realm and other things. But we'll see at some point in the future. Now, if you have questions, you can reach me at Lewis.BrightRaven on Facebook, at Twitter at LewisBrightRave2, on DeviantArt at DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven, YouTube, Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven, not Yahoo, Gmail, Quoth the Raven LBR72 at gmail.com, or LewisBrightRaven at yahoo.com if you can't reach me at the Gmail address. On Mondays, we do comics news and reviews. I didn't see a whole lot of comics news I really felt like talking about. A lot of stuff I see is just negative stuff. I don't want to be negative ninny. Normally, we have Wednesdays is what did you get at the comic shop this week? Again, I'll probably do a little bit more talking about that After Realm books. But also this week, tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon around 5:30, we will talk about previews for this month, the March 2021 catalog, and I'll talk about what I got planned to order out of that, because I've already filled out my order form, and we'll discuss what I thought was cool. That'll be tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. And then Wednesday will be our normal, what did you get this week? Depending on what I bought at the store. I don't know what time it'll be because of whenever the books get there and everything. Thursday nights is usually roundtable talk, guest night, topical talk. This week, I am not sure if I'm going to. I want to have some round talk, but I want to get some fellow writers, and I haven't heard back yet, but we'll see what goes on. Hopefully, I'll know by Wednesday who's going to be on the show for the guest this week. And on Friday night is genre night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's each week a different genre, sometimes with guests, sometimes not. This week we're talking about favorite science fiction novels. So that's what I'll be talking about. And I don't know if I'll have a guest or not. So, with that being said, we're just waiting for this silly sign. There we go. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow at 5:30 p.m.